Speakers typically create safety on stage through their mind. So what this means is memorization, rehearsal, repetition, and sometimes they still walk out terrified and judging themselves, typically because they're solving the wrong problem. I've trained over 1,200 speakers over the last 5 years, and today I'm walking you through a 5-minute nervous system reset that completely changes how you show up on any stage without adding extra hours of preparation. So firstly, the old way. In the old system, when speakers got nervous, what would they do? They would prepare more. Get in front of a mirror, recite your lines, memorize the whole thing, do it in front of a friend, get some feedback. Like, the idea was you keep knowing until you know it cold and you know it back to front. And then in the morning you run through it again and you check your slides one more time backstage. It was just like preparation on top of preparation on top of more preparation. Now, don't get me wrong, you need to prepare. But the thinking, if I prepare enough and I know this content completely back to front, then when I'm up there and people are judging me, I'm going to be impenetrable, and the judgments won't be able to get through. That's a very limited way of approaching the stage. And even though it has been the norm up until now, and it's what many of us were taught in primary school and high school, and this is how you do the presentation, you could even say that the last generation of professional speakers triumphed inside of that and beyond that, and it was very rehearsed and precise. But there's a problem with it. The audience can feel it, especially in an age where there is so much more emotional intelligence, when people can feel whether you're present with them or just reciting something that you prepared at home. They can feel when someone is hiding behind the content instead of bringing all of themselves to the room, and coincidentally what they can't feel is you. So this new wave, the new era of speaking that we're really standing on the crux of is being naked on stage. And not physically naked, you're not taking your clothes off, different kind of stage, but allowing yourself to be fully seen for who you are, not putting on a facade or a mask. And instead of hiding behind preparation or structure or content, the question is, can we actually open? Can we let people into who we really are so that they can see us? Now, the way we create safety in this approach is completely different. And instead of going to the mind like we do in the old approach, here we go to the body. If you can down-regulate your nervous system, you're going to find safety with no matter what's happening in front of you. Now, if you don't know what to say next, you can still feel safe inside your own skin. Like, recognize those two things are not an impenetrable chain. The same way you might feel safe when you're having coffee with a close friend and you're not sure about what you might say next. The safety here doesn't come from memorization, it comes from connection. So firstly, can you be fully connected to yourself when you step on stage? And secondly, do you have the courage to be fully connected to your audience? Now, when that connection is present, both vertically and horizontally, you're meeting them fully from your presence. You're watching them, you're responding to how they take on your material, you're receiving their non-verbal expressions to you. You're not in your head thinking about what lines are going to come next. You're completely in the room with them. And they can feel that immediately. Notice how I even clap as if I'm a 5-year-old and someone's about to read me a story, because it is delightful to be met with presence. Now, by the way, if what I'm describing sounds familiar and you've been putting in the reps, doing the old style, which is useful up to a certain degree, but you want to dive deeper and be on the cutting edge of what speaking can do, you can book in a call with one of our team, no obligation, no cost to you. We can just let you know where you're at and how we might be able to support you. The link's there is if you're interested. Now let's jump into an exercise. This will take somewhere about 5 minutes, and I actually want you to go through this process and try it with me. So stand up for a moment, pretend there's an audience in front of you, and take a moment to actually see them there. What are they wearing? How many of them is there, etc. And when you can feel them, you're just going to take a few breaths. The breath come both into the belly and the chest. Feel your back body, feel your spine. And as you're breathing, notice what comes up for you. Notice the subtle sensations that are there underneath the surface as you're standing before this audience. Notice what's the thoughts that are running through your mind. What are you afraid people will think? What are you afraid you might say to yourself when you're on stage or after you get off? And really important, don't try to fix any of this, just let it be and keep breathing. Again, as you're breathing, noticing what's happening. And don't even force the breath. See if you can softly allow it to arrive. And then as you exhale, allowing it to go, just like the waves coming and going in the ocean. And notice, if I was to ask you to speak, what would typically be the words that you would hide your presence behind? Your go-to opening, the script you have, the thing you want to leave people with. And instead of saying those words, we're going to take another breath. Notice what's underneath those words. And ask yourself, what if I didn't say those words? Can I still be safe either way? Now, in this moment, what typically happens is you allow people to come another layer deeper into seeing you. So notice what you're feeling in your body as you allow yourself to be more seen. Where's the tension? Where's the unconscious holding? Is your jaw tight? Are your shoulders gripping? Are the buttocks locked in? Taking 4 or 5 deeper, slower breaths, especially into the parts of the body that are tense. Inhale, hold for a few moments. Exhale, soften, let go. 5 or 6 times just in this way. Allowing the breath and the mind to travel into those places to feel the tension and then soften to release it. It's like the waves washing upon the shore, in and out, not trying to control anything. And notice as you do this, what starts happening in the body. Is there more openness? Where there was tension, can we allow there to be more of you, more presence? More of you inhabiting the unconscious space that you take up when you're on stage. And taking a few more breaths. And just stay here for a moment. Notice what's happening. Notice how it would feel to meet the stage from here moving forward. And notice what words, what presence, what influence you'd be able to extend yourself to if you were to meet it from more of this place. And then secondly, and you can sit down for this part, and notice how the audience might perceive you differently. If you were to communicate from this place, what would they get from you that they don't get when you're just going for the typical script? And that's it, that's the reset. So to give you an overview of why and how this works, let's say someone's afraid of dogs. No amount of skill or technique is going to change that. Like, what needs to shift is the internal relationship to dogs, and there was probably some past experiences inside of that. Whether with fear, whether with a dog, whether being chased, whatever the dog is activating for them. So the body is not going to shift until it feels something different on a visceral level, and the stage is exactly the same. There's countless times I've pulled people on stage. I remember this one time, we had a guy on stage who was built like a Spartan warrior, ran multiple companies, very, very successful, so confident as he was presenting. And I just paused him in one moment and I was like, can you allow yourself to take a breath into the space between your chin and your chest? And as you do, just allow your chin to rise a little bit. And as he did, it's like the whole room softened into him. And tiny little tear came running down his cheek. And I was like, that. Let yourself speak from there, because you're going to command something you haven't been able to from the other place. And when we start anchoring safety from this place, from the body, from the depths of our nervous system, you completely change your relationship to the stage and the audience. And this is where I see people make the biggest shifts. All the speaking technique they've learned before starts showing up naturally. You're not thinking about volume and you're not thinking about gesture, like it moves through you because you're safe and you're available. There's more range in the voice. There's more openness in the body, there's a better timing, you don't have to think about counting in your head when you're doing a pregnant pause. It feels natural to pause so people can digest what you've said. And often it's like, it's not that people didn't have these skill sets, they were just doing it from a very mentally driven place, and it costs connection in the room. And when we open up that contraction, it just creates what we're all yearning for as humans. I remember one of my other clients, she came to me and she said, look, Miroslav, I can already present and I can train. How can you actually support me? And I got her to stand up and speak, and I watched what she was doing, and I was like, okay. I was like, just pause. And she was like, all right, what? I'm like, no, that's it. That's all you need to do. You just need to pause. And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're going at like 100 miles an hour, like, because this is your natural pace. And I'm like, and you're just steamrolling some of your listeners. Like next time you speak, you're going to get up, and at one point, you're just going to stop and you're going to breathe. And it's going to feel like an eternity to you, but it might just be 1 or 2 seconds while you do it on stage. Now, I also just want to segue and say, typically on stage, you're not standing there breathing like we did this exercise before. That's just an exercise to do here and you between us. When you're on stage, you do have to deliver. But in her case, I was like, you definitely need to pause for 2 or 3 or 4 times as long as you naturally do, at least once. She went out and she did it in her private Facebook group where she was coaching a massive group of women she'd collected over the years who loved her work. And I was like, how was it? And she came to me afterwards and she goes, this woman signed up to work with me after I did what you told me. And I was like, okay, tell me more. She goes, well, she'd been following me and my work in the group for years. And this is the first time she reached out. And I asked her why. Like, why? What made this time different for you? And she goes, I could feel you. And just recognize how important that is for people. Both if you're leading a team of people or if you're being led, how important it is to feel that the person who's leading you has your best interests in mind. If you're someone that's in business, what does it mean for your potential clients that they can feel the truth and the essence and the trust that you're speaking from? And recognize the trust isn't a process-based thing. It's based on how much of our presence can move through us when we speak. Our nervous systems are so deeply wired to detect what's true, what's present, what we can genuinely attune to. And when someone is speaking from that deep, regulated, open place, that lands in a completely different way. And beyond all the content and the words and the slides, that's actually what people will remember. They'll remember the essence of you. So quick reminder, if you want more support with this and not just information, if you want to go through the initiation, the embodiment, the training of it, you can jump in and have a little conversation with one of our team. They can let you know what events we have coming up and how we might be able to support you as well. So before you step on stage, here's how to take this into every single talk you do from now on. When you're standing off stage or backstage, waiting for your name to be called or for the Zoom screen to go on, close your eyes. Pretend everybody's already looking at you and just let them in and then breathe. Notice where you're holding the tension again. Take a few breaths and let your presence and your breath fill that space first so you're not armoring when you go on stage. Then when you step on stage, you're stepping on stage with that level of presence already expanded inside of you. You're ready to send the message and you're ready to receive the room as they receive the message. Inside my trainings, I do a lot of this with people live and the audience watching, and their jaws always drop. Sometimes there's tears and emotions and they're just awed at how quickly that shift can happen. They feel the shift before a word is spoken. There's more trust, there's more connection, and instantly they just lean in. So here's what I want to leave you with. When you get on any stage, bring it all. Don't hold back. Just bring all of yourself to the stage. Your audience is yearning for you. And those speakers that are hiding behind the mask up there, hiding behind their structure and memorization, they're leaving a lot of influence and impact on the table, which is okay as a growing step, but we do want to go beyond that because the audience can only connect to the mask, and that connection only goes so deep. But when you come from the depth of who you are, when you let yourself be seen, that's when they're going to feel you. That's when trust transfers inside everything you say, and the message lands somewhere completely different inside of them. So the stage is one of the most powerful ways to discover who you are, not perform who you are, like actually discover it and use it as a tool to lean into yourself. Start with this exercise, do it a few times, let it become a natural part of how you prepare. And the next time you're backstage, just close your eyes, let them see you, breathe, and see what happens. That's when it starts. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.